Fantastic. Good afternoon. Wow, I know what happens after lunch. And I don't know why, although we are doctors and we know what happens after lunch, we still put stuff at the lunch. Because I know right now, a lot of your blood has been shunted to your abdomen to absorb your nutrients, right? So I'll try to keep you awake, at least till we leave here. I want to say thank you to Beryl. Beryl and I grew up together on the University of Ghana campus. Our parents were on campus together, so we've been family friends for a long time. And also thank you to our president, who was my classmate in medical school, one of my special sweethearts. So I couldn't resist coming. In fact, if you think I'm going to bore you for an hour, no. It's going to be short and sweet because I myself need to be out of here quickly. Unfortunately, we live between Accra, Ghana and Montreal, Canada. And a few days ago, our home in Canada started flooding. So those of you who don't believe in global warming and El Nino and all of that, I'm telling you, come and visit me. Because my neighbor tells me he's lived there for 40 years and it doesn't flood in the area. And all of a sudden, in the last 7 years or so, we've had 2 floods. So we quickly bought a ticket this morning and we are heading out. In fact, but for this, I would have left yesterday. But you are that important. So give yourselves a hand. Right. So, let's begin from the beginning. That's my family. I just told you about my family. We have a lot of teeth for you to work on in our family. So we're going to bring you a lot of business. This is family planning, okay? I knew you would laugh. Because a lot of times in Ghana, people decide family planning is having few or no children. But we need to revise what the definition is. We planned this even before we got married. It is deciding how many you're going to have, how often you're going to have, right? The spacing in between them. So, would you clap for my wife and I? So, like I said, we do life between Ghana and Canada. Right. So, because this is a scientific session, the topic is strengthening legitimate dental practice through leadership, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. That is the scientific one we give the Medical and Dental Council. The boring part. Let me tell you the real topic. No. It is this: beyond fighting quackery. That is how I put it. That's what we mean. Strengthening legitimate dental practice through leadership, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. But basically, what we are talking about is fighting, beyond fighting quackery, from protection to progress. In other words, it's not enough to fight quackery. We've got to do better ourselves. Right? Okay. It's getting hot already. Did you ever play police and thief? Some of you are too dadaba. Someone's like, police and thief, what is that? Right? So you gather together to play. Some of you decide to be police. The others are thieves. And the police chase the thieves. It's as simple as that. But it's not as simple as that, because this game can go on and on and on and on. The thrill is in the chase. And somehow, the thieves keep multiplying. Even when you keep them held somewhere, more people decide they're going to be thieves for you to chase. You can play on and on till your mother calls you and lashes you for coming home late. The point I'm making is this. The big idea in this talk is this. Long-term answer, the long-term answer to quackery, which is our theme for this year, is not only stronger policing. And a lot of times we forget that the word policy and police are related. When you have policy, you are policing something, right? So the long-term answer is not only stronger policing, which we've talked about in the morning, it is a stronger profession. I almost said hallelujah. The big idea is this. Quackery does not thrive merely because regulation fails. It thrives wherever legitimate systems are weak, inaccessible, fragmented, costly, where there's no innovation, it's underled, understaffed, or unable to meet public demand. Then quackery is attractive. Because what somebody should pay 1,000 for, somebody says, I can do it for 300 and maybe even give you change. Right? Right? Long-term solution, as I said, is not merely eliminating illegal practice, but strengthening legitimate. I am here to talk about 3 things that will strengthen our legitimate practice. And this shifts the conversation from only enforcement, which is important, to capacity building. We need to build our capacity as legitimate practitioners of this noble profession. So if you like, the sub-theme 1 was mainly about what is the problem? We said quackery is a problem. Then why is it wrong? Because it's an issue of ethics and professionalism. And then we looked at how do we fight it? So we've been talking, I've seen the people on the program, including some of my classmates, regulation, enforcement, public education. But what I seek to do is answer this question. What kind of legitimate dental profession must we build so that quackery becomes increasingly irrelevant? Is that a good question? And that's why we're proposing 3 things. It's not only 3 things, but I believe these 3 things would do the job significantly, at least 80% of it. Leadership, entrepreneurship, workforce development. If you don't believe me, let's try and answer this question. I said the real battle, oh, the Ashanti in me just came out. Battery. The battery is the loss. The real battle is bigger than quackery. And so look at this question. And for me, that is the crux of it. If every dental quack disappeared tomorrow, would Ghana's oral health challenges be solved? Let me ask Madam President, since she speaks for all of us. Madam, tell me, and then I know whether to continue my talk or not. No. I thought so. So you understand what we're trying to do here? That yes, there is a problem. Yes, there are quacks. But all is not exactly well with us either. And what might we be contributing to that? Many issues will still not be solved when we nip quackery in the bud. Affordability challenges, limited public awareness, workforce shortages, access gaps, urban-rural disparities. We're just talking about, Ashaiman, although Ashaiman is not rural, it's kind of like on the edge, practice sustainability issues. In other words, will this practice be here tomorrow? Money matter. So these 3 things, leadership, entrepreneurship, and development, or workforce development, I call it LED, so you don't forget. I really like, in medical school, we used to have all these mnemonics so we don't forget things. Right. Leadership, entrepreneurship, development, LED. LED lights, right? When LED lights came out first, we said, wow, the new lights. Right. I hope the GDA gets a new light today. And I'm happy that after 20 years of medical school, we are talking about these things. I recently met a professor of anatomy last year, Professor Tego, great guy. We both were recipients of the Millennium Excellence Awards last year at Menchia Palace. And when I started talking about these leadership things and entrepreneurship things, I was the ugly duckling. I was quack, 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 quack. And I'm glad that we have like a 360. Because if we don't talk about these things, our profession will never fly the way it should. These things we're talking about are not just for business school people. You may have realized that by now. And I feel it is absolutely, last year the graduates, the Residents Association of Doctors, they call it what, is it GADO? Asked me to speak to them about transformational leadership. And I was shocked to learn that there is no course on leadership even as residents. Like how? Anyway. So, let's talk about the 3 things and then I'll sit down for questions and answers. Leadership, the first one. Obviously, I can't give you a whole lecture on leadership. This is just to whet your appetite. And then as an association, we say that, you know what? Now we're going to make sure that we have CPDs in leadership, we have CPDs in entrepreneurship, we have CPDs in how to grow our workforce, how to develop our workforce, etc. Obviously, we know by now that leadership is not about position, it's about stewardship. Leadership is not about titles, it's about towels, it's about service. Leadership is about influence, but it is not, people want the influence of leadership, but they want to bring it over people. But the influence you have as a leader is actually to empower people, is to bring it behind people and to bring it beneath people to lift them up. That's the essence of leadership. And I have a beef because when I think of it, I don't know about now, but we were in medical school for 8 years, 1997 to 2005. Is that you? Hey, that's one of my favorites from medical school. And I see you too. I'm seeing people I haven't seen like 20 years. That's awesome. Please invite me back next year. I think about it. For 8 years, we trained to be doctors. And then it was our year when we were just about to finish, and some of us were going to, wonderful. It was in our year they decided that instead of doing 1 year housemanship, you're going to do 2. Some of us said we don't have time for it, we won't do it. But wisdom prevailed, we did it. But the point is that it took me about 10 years to be licensed not to kill one person. Isn't that what it's about? You have a provisional license after medical school. You only get the full license after 2 years. I mean, how many people can a doctor or a dentist kill at once? Usually it's one. That's not the business we are in, but you know what I'm saying. But when it comes to leadership, which can derail a whole nation, which can put a whole profession in jeopardy, what do you need to be a leader in Ghana? Maybe the ability to shout. Yeah, leader, MP, DC. My friends, we need to take this leadership thing very seriously. Because it doesn't just come naturally. How will you feel to sit in a dental chair and the person tells you, this is my first time. I haven't even gone to dental school yet. And yet people sit in the driving chair of leadership and we let them drive the nation. No wonder we are where we are. So, we need to give leadership serious thought. As I said, I cannot give a full lecture on leadership, but I can tell you from all my studies of leadership, I've been studying leadership for at least 30 years. By God's grace, I've practiced leadership in about 65 countries of the world. And I want to tell you, I have come to this conclusion. By the way, there are over 360 definitions of leadership. So whatever you think it is, you are right. But I've come to the conclusion that leadership is 3 things. It's stewardship, it's service, it's sway. Responsibility, servanthood, and influence. And a lot of times, we weigh towards one or the other. So for some of you others say, we are very good influencers, but we are horrible servants. Many of us, though, if you are Ghanaian enough, you probably are a good servant, good in responsibility, but maybe not so much a good influencer. So leadership, this is my own definition. It's a relational process whereby a responsible person, I like putting it that way like Stephen Covey, it makes you understand the word responsible. It means you are able to respond. So it's quackery in Ghana. Are we able to respond? Then we're responsible. Responsible. It's time for school fees. Can you respond? You're responsible. Right? So it's a relational process where a responsible person with character, competence, and care. So important, so much important. A lot of times we talk about character, competence, we forget compassion. We forget about care. But leadership is about the head, the heart, and the hands. That's what we're talking about here. Serves and influence people and planet to achieve a shared noble purpose. This is my mentor, John Maxwell, and he says, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I really believe that. The Ghana Dental Association is great, it's because of great leadership. If it's not, it's because of bad leadership. If your family is great, it's because of great leadership. If it's not, it's because of bad leadership. Literally everything. Even at the World Cup, people are seeing a difference in the Ghana Black Stars. What's the difference? Leadership. The leadership is the difference. Same talents, same people, same pair of legs, different results. Why? Leadership. So leadership matters in dentistry. It affects vision, progress happens, it enhances patient safety, reduces errors, improves staff morale, retention, makes care more efficient, strengthens or transforms the health system, and others you can fill in. I'm going to leave some of the rest out. So dental leadership then is a relational process whereby a responsible resident or doctor, dentist or senior dentist, whatever, with character, competence, and care, serves and influences dental personnel and patients, systems and structures, resources, and other stakeholders to achieve the shared noble purpose of what? Enhanced patient outcomes and healthcare advancement. This is my own definition. So there are different aspects of leadership to take care of. First of all, there's personal leadership. A lot of us are in a hurry to lead other people, but the most important person to lead first is yourself, is myself. So personal leadership is a big thing. And then clinical leadership, of course, if you're into academia, right, then academic leadership as well, team leadership, systems leadership, strategic leadership, and I'd like to say Afro-specific leadership, because a lot of leadership things we read and study, models, etc., are foreign. We need to be able to bring this down to African context. So every dentist is a leader because every dentist shapes the reputation of the profession. And the future of Ghanaian dentistry will be determined not merely by regulators, but by the leadership culture of dentists themselves. And so I want to encourage the GDA to collaborate, and I'm willing to collaborate. One of the organizations I run called PELE, Public Executive Leadership. We work with government leaders, military leaders, whatever. And I would love for us to collaborate and do something about this. We built a website called Leadervarsity. You can go to leadervarsity.com, and we have 3 steps of leadership courses. The first is called the Growth Series. Let's talk about this so we can get it to your members free. Maybe the first 50 or so who want to try it, we can do something like that. But if you look at this, for example, so there are 3 levels of this course. The first level is all about the person of the leader. Now, leadership is not about the person who is leading, and yet everything about that person profoundly affects the leadership. Think about it. Where our president slept last night determines the kind of deals he will sign today. Did you hear me? So we talk about to lead is human, leading with self-awareness. This is a big deal. Leading from your life story. You don't have to talk like me. You don't have to talk like Obama. You don't have to talk like Martin Luther King. You have your own unique life story. You need to explore it and lead authentically the way only you can lead. Very important. The best leadership textbook is not another person's book. It's your life. Leadership and Crucibles. Leading from the power of pause and all of that. And you can see emotional intelligence there. A lot of doctors are very emotionally unintelligent. Very cognitively intelligent, and yet EQ has been shown to be 90% of whether or not you succeed in life. And it has to be learned. This is the second series. So the first series is about the person of the leader. The second series is about the people that are led, right? And so you talk about people before purpose, the power of principles of teams. Teams. It doesn't matter how talented you are. All of us are better than the best of us any day. And doctors need to learn that. What are doctors without nurses? What are dentists without dental assistants? You understand what I'm saying? You need to learn to work in a team and enhance that team. Emotional intelligence. So the first part, the first emotional intelligence talks about just you identify your emotions and knowing how to manage them. The second part is about identifying other people's emotions and managing those relationships. And other thing, having difficult discussions. Oh my goodness. I remember a wrong leg being cut when I was in medical school. And you wonder, didn't anybody realize the wrong leg was being scrapped? You know the story behind that? Who was going to tell this Oga that he was scrapping the wrong leg? Hospitals are one of the worst places when it comes to dealing with difficult conversations. You've got to learn it. It's part of your leadership development. By the way, leading and managing are 2 different animals. And a lot of time people mix the 2 up. Leadership and management are worlds apart. So this is just a taste, my friends. And my time is almost up, I'm sure. And then this is the 3rd level where we look at more like strategic change. Now you're looking at more like the vision right? The levitation. All I'm saying with this is that leadership is the tide that raises all the other boats. Every boat we want to raise in dentistry, in oral health world, in Ghana, rests on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership, including and especially trust. In fact, trust is the foundation of all leadership. So, how well is dentistry going to do in Ghana? It's only to the level of our leadership. If this is our level of leadership, it's called the law of the lid. Dentistry wants to rise in Ghana, bing, it hits a lid. Who is the lid? Madam Kakabakwashi. Who's the lid? Dr. Atul. Oh, we want to rise. Think about it. This country can never rise beyond John Mahama. Have you thought about it? Why? Leadership is a lid. When he raises his leadership, we all rise. When he raises his leadership, we all rise. Leadership is key. And I want to challenge us about that. Let me touch quickly on the other two and then I'll sit down. What about entrepreneurship? Or, if you're from Kumasi, my people will say entrepreneur. So Benoit then. Entrepreneur. Right? Basically, who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risk and enjoying most of the rewards. The process of setting up a business is known as entrepreneurship. This is from Investopedia. The entrepreneur is commonly seen as an innovator, a source of new ideas, good services, and businesses or procedures. But there's a point I want to make in this. Because there's also a term we use called intrapreneurship or intrapreneurs. And this is why, and I've done this on a number of companies, and I'm happy for us to do a whole CPD on this. The point is this: more than anything, entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's not a job. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking that you will be an innovative person who solves problems. So instead of just saying, oh, we have problems, so this quackery thing, what will we do about it? We are even getting overwhelmed. An entrepreneurial mind says, hey, there are solutions. Let's get innovative. It's a mindset. And this is important I talk about it because I have a long history of academics in my family, from my grandfather who was an emeritus professor. And there's a problem when it comes to academics and entrepreneurship. We think being professional and being entrepreneurial are opposites. But no, you can be an entrepreneurial professor because you think smart, you solve problems, you publish, you are innovative. And we need that. If there are many problems to solve in Ghana, it means we have the best potential to be entrepreneurial. For years, I used to say that whoever solves the rubbish problem in Ghana will be very rich. At that time, Zoomlion did not exist. Because money is a reward you get for solving problems. So will we be entrepreneurial? Building viable practices, innovation, patient experience being awesome, technology adoption. We just had a 3D printing presentation, expanding your services, financial stability. And without going too much into this story, one of my friends, one of my mentees, where somebody was just talking about him, took over this clinic when it was literally just a shell, about 13 years ago. It was not even operational. And with his leadership ability and entrepreneurial ability, they've literally built a whole new, you guys have been to LECMA. For example, they do dental. You know how they started their dental practice? Internally generated funds. In fact, the government provides nothing for them as far as I know except salaries. Everything they built because of an entrepreneurial spirit. And I want to say a big kudos to, that's the young doctor who runs it, Dr. William Osher from Paul. I've mentored him for many years since his medical school days. This is actually his leadership team. They came together to look at their various strengths and their various personalities and how best to work together. They put together a 5-year strategic plan. They've renewed it. They have another 5-year strategic plan. You see the power of leadership, the power of entrepreneurship. My friends, it works. And this is not a private hospital. This is entrepreneurship in a public space. Entrepreneurship is not a job. It's a mindset. And finally, let's talk about workforce development, and then we can take some questions. How are we doing? Doing okay? You guys are very quiet. You're not bored. You're not planning to stone me. Okay, thank you. Last thing we want to talk about, developing our workforce, including ourselves. Because we just learned that we ourselves need to grow our leadership, right? We ourselves need to grow our entrepreneurial mindset. For example, have you ever organized a CPD on design thinking? All right, let's end with this. I don't know how many of you have been to the Serengeti. Amazing. We really need to explore more of Africa. But there's a saying that every morning on the Serengeti plains of East Africa, a gazelle awakens. And the gazelle knows that that day it must run faster than the fastest lion if it's to survive. And yet every morning on the same Serengeti plains, a lion also awakens. Yeah. Not the 3 lions. Those ones we have. And that lion knows that it must run faster than the slowest gazelle if it must eat. This is the moral of the story. Whether you see yourself as a lion or as a gazelle, when the sun comes up, you had better be running. And for me, when we talk about workplace development or workforce development, that's what comes to mind. Because we need to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. I hope that our colleagues who are professors now in the medical school, and I met a couple of you, I hope you have much more of a growth mindset than the professors we came to meet. Because it was as if they know everything and they are the, if you behave like that in this world, you'll be left behind. In fact, a lot of our children, what they're studying in school now, by the time they graduate, those things are defunct. Recently, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I kept looking at these cars that were passed. I was like, "There's nobody in the car." Of course, I didn't take those. But I have a brother-in-law who works in Silicon Valley. He is so sure that most of my children will never learn to drive. That's where we're going. So knowledge, ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT in some of the things that I did. You know, it just makes life easier if you know what you're doing. So knowledge will abound. But the question will we make ourselves such that we can learn? We'll have the capacity to grow, to be different. They used to say in Phoenix, I don't know whether you remember, there used to be a professor who was very knowledgeable but very stingy with his knowledge. And very abrasive when you don't get his stuff right. And the story goes that he used to say, "When I die, write this on my tombstone. Herein lies knowledge." Herein lies knowledge. I am telling you. So we need to have a growth mindset. Every year I run a growth mastermind. And several kinds of professionals come and take it. And sometimes companies pay for their staff to be part of it. We talk about principles like the law of intentionality. Growth doesn't just happen. No. There is no thing with potential that just happens. Diamonds, gold, oil, all of them take time and pressure and effort to get them out. What do you think you need to do about your potential? It will not just happen. So growth must be intentional. The law of awareness. You need to know yourself to grow yourself. Both as individuals, as a practice, as even an association. The law of the mirror. You need to see value in yourself to grow yourself on and on. There are many things we could do to develop our workforce. A sabbatical is important. Training, professional development courses, including degrees. You know, book tuition allowance. Do you give your staff tuition allowance? I'm going to give you 1,000 Ghana cedis. Buy any book that's going to make you a better person. Coaching. My goodness. the results are like night and day. Let's start coaching and we'll see what happens to our staff. Travel opportunities, exchange programs. Let the people in your clinic in Kumasi come to somebody's clinic in Dansuman and learn different things, different atmospheres, etc. This is my last but one slide, because I'm going to leave you with this ecosystem I built together with ChatGPT. And the goal is the right people with the right skills in the right places doing the right things for the right patients. What is it going to take? Building a competent, motivated, and future-ready dental workforce, education and training, like I talked about in the slide before, coaching and mentoring, especially one-on-one, professional development and growth, everything from leadership development to management, practice training, communication skills, etc., performance management and support. Listen, people want to feel, they want feedback. They want to know, am I doing well? If I'm not doing well, how can I improve? People need feedback to grow. You need to have a performance management system. Feedback is not a curse. Feedback is not punishment. So you need a performance management system, right? You need career pathways, very important. Because sometimes somebody comes to work at your clinic, they have no idea where they're going to be in 10 years. Am I going to be better? Am I going to grow? Am I going to be, what is the pathway? What is the pathway? And as I talk about this, you may think about the whole dental profession as well. Not just your clinic, not just the micro, but the macro picture, right? Deployment and workforce optimization. We need to plan our work. We need to have the right people in the right place. Too many square pegs in round holes. Find what the person is good at and put them where they can optimize their skill. People come to work with joy. And then the kind of culture you have in the workplace. I used to work in a place where there's a particular window. Everybody comes to check the window to see whether the boss's car is there. That determines how they behave in their place. They come and say, hey, it's not there. The kind of culture you have in your work, every workplace has a culture. Even if you haven't written it down, it's what you do. Culture is what we do here. That's what it is, right? And then, of course, infrastructure and resources for development. The enablement of a workforce developed place is a strong leadership, supportive policies, adequate funding, data and evidence, partnerships and collaboration, tech and innovation. So in conclusion, my friends, I was giving 30 minutes, I'm 32 minutes, 33 minutes. A profession earns trust not because it demands it, but because it deserves it. Regulations may restrain quackery, enforcement may expose it, public education may warn against it, but the enduring answer to quackery is a profession that is so progressive, that is so competent, that is so ethical, so innovative, so well led, and that the publicly instinctively knows where genuine care resides. My brothers, my sisters, the future of dentistry in Ghana will not be secured merely by what we stop, quackery. It will be secured by what we build. Let's do this. Thank you.
Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Dr. Yalpevi? I'm sure we all got so excited with his passion for leadership. And I mean, if we didn't take anything away, at least you could remember that he said, light up your LED lights. And for me, LED is leadership, entrepreneurship, workforce development. For me, I can resonate with the leadership one because I've had the opportunity to be in leadership for 7 years now. And I can really agree so much with you, because if we really want to strengthen legitimate dental practice, we need to have good leadership. I can go on and on with the experiences I've had with currently I have over 230,000 population. If I should use the word stewardship, I'm a leader and I'm a steward. I always tell them that, as Doc said, if you're a leader, you must remember that you are a steward. You are there to serve. You're not there to, bring up titles and make flamboyant noise about yourself. No. You are a steward. And for me, I think it's high time we need to build ourselves. Even if you have a dental practice, have you actually built yourself up? Have you built capacity? If you stand tall amongst the others, as he said, you cannot just stop there. We can't stop. It's a menace. It's a bottleneck in our health system. But can we, if you really know yourself, you know who you are, you know that you're a good leader, you know your staff, if I should put it in quotes, nobody can compete with you because your patients know who you are. They trust in you. And so it's high time we shouldn't be worried about dental quackery and how we're going to stop it here and there. But let's build ourselves up. Workforce development is very key. Leadership is very key. I never thought I could be a leader. My classmates are here. I'm a very quiet person, but being through leadership, I realized that all of us here can be good leaders. All of us here have the potential. Leaders are not born. They can be born, but then you can learn. And so it's high time we need to distinguish ourselves through leadership, through entrepreneurship, and through workforce development. That's building capacity that will help us distinguish ourselves from the dental quacks out there. Are there any questions? I think I've taken most of the... Yeah, any comments for Doc? I'm sure we are all tired. But you know, on the flip side, I happened to be in the same school with your wife. She was yeah, she was a school prefect of the very good school, Wesley Girls High School. So so I think we are all tired, and we'll come back tomorrow. Okay, Madam President.
Thank you very much for a very great presentation, as expected. So my question is, so you showed us a lot of slides on some of the topics that you sort of teach about.
Right.
What do you think would be very pertinent topics for leaders in Ghana Dental Association? And then what would be very pertinent, or what would be maybe your top 3, top 2 topics for the executives, and then for dentists?
Wow.
To sort of not only strengthen practice, but also to make us great leaders and yeah, better people in general?
Right. That's a very hard question. But I would say that for all leaders, whether you're on the executive team, whether you are, in the dental world as a dentist, every one of us will have to take this course on self-awareness. Self-awareness. I agree with those who say, and it's also in the literature, because I've studied leadership at the master's level. I'm actually doing a PhD right now, a doctoral program in leadership. That's how much I believe in it. And people will tell you that self-awareness is the first chapter in leadership development. Because here you are wanting to influence others or serve others, etc., but you don't even know who you are. What are your strengths? And if we're going to go into that right now, so for example, I walk into boardrooms and we're doing this thing on self-awareness. And I start with, how self-aware are you? And these are executives. What do they say? 9 over 10, 8 over 10, 10 over 10. By the time we're done, people are like 2. They now score themselves 3. Because sometimes we are not even aware of what we are not aware of. Right? We don't even know what we don't know. So by the time I put down about 20 things we must be aware of, people are like, hey! Right? So for me, that is fundamental for every one of us to do, irrespective of what level we are leading at. The other thing I will strongly suggest is the course on character and crucibles. It's been found that 90% of character failure, leadership failures are character failures. 90% of people who will be removed from the Ghana Dental Registry will not be because they didn't know how to handle their hands, but had to do with a heart issue. 90%. And so, but unfortunately, character is built through hard things and hard times. Like my basement is flooded. Right now, my character is being built. Am I going to be impatient with my wife? Right? Am I going to get there and say, and my character is being built. Do I like my basement flooded? No. But my character is being built right now. Character is built in crucibles. And that's an important lesson that every leader, again, needs to have. But for the executives, so these are things on the person of the leader side of things. But emotional intelligence, like I said, Harvard Business School says it's 90% of whether or not you'll succeed. Because we all got into medical school or dental school because we're smart enough. So that is a giving. After I think 128 or so of IQ no longer determines whether or not you'll be successful. So emotional intelligence following from the course on self-awareness will be very, very important. There are 4 main aspects of it, and it can be done, a good 90 minutes, you can get a good grasp of it, and then you have the rest of your life to live it out. For the executives, one of the courses I think would be very good will be vision and provision. I didn't put it that way on the slide. But as a leader, part of your function is to raise money, is to raise resources, not just money, resources. And how do you do that? Because vision and provision go together all the time. Without provision, your vision will die. So especially as the executive, that's one of the things. And we all need it for every aspect of life. And I tell people all the time, you don't raise resources because you are poor. Think about it. Bill Gates raises funds. Bill Gates, sometimes you see him on social media with a cock or a hen saying, yeah, so give $10, then you're like, oh, this man, because you see, even if you're a millionaire and God gives you $1 billion project, you can't do it. Right? So Warren Buffett is raising money, he's convincing. So that is a very important skill. And we'll tie in with communication, because the ability to communicate vision will determine, how the provision comes through. So those are a couple of things. But I wish we'll all take all the courses or the equivalent somewhere. Don't come and take it because I said so. No. Go and do it wherever you want to do it. But whatever you do, do it.
Thank you. Please, are there any more questions or comments? For me, I like the part you said vision comes with provision. And I think even in our health sector, we are really struggling, especially in the government sector. Once, you may have the vision, but once there's no resources, your vision will die. On that note, if there are no more comments or questions, then...
Of course, the course on dealing with difficult discussions. Because Ghanaians, it's hard for all leaders around the world. But for Ghanaians in particular, it's extra hard.
Yeah.
Because we are nice, fun-fooling people, right? We like to say, oh, everything's okay. How are you? People come to your dental clinic, right? And you ask them, how are you? What do they say?
I'm fine.
I'm fine. That's how we are. Everything is fine, but things are not fine.
Yeah.
So that's a very important conversation to have. And then you have some tools to help you to live this stuff out. That's one of the things I've loved about living in the West. They come up with tools, and that's something you must learn as well. It's easy to say, for example, I say, hey, everybody here, love your wife or husband, right? But if I give you a tool, L-O-V, L, listen to her. O, observe her and help her. V, volunteer. E, I've given you a tool that helps you to do what I said. So that's one of the things that we try to do in our courses as well. So even with dealing with difficult discussions, we give you a tool like climbing the ladder of integrity, so that you have kind of step by step how to approach dealing with difficult conversations.
All right. On that note, you have a question. All right.
How there is any company, how many leadership should be in just 1, 2 in any company?
In any company?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
No, that I need to clarify it and let us explain for us the difference between CEO, manager, leadership.
Right.
You know there is a slightly, but the leadership, you will describe for us how many leadership.
Right. So from what you're saying, I suspect you're talking about leadership as in position. There's leadership as in position, there's leadership as in function, right? So positionally, leadership would first have the board, right? For governance. I define governance as leadership of leadership, right? Who leads the leader? Like who keeps an eye on the president? Do you have a board? Do you have an advisory council? That kind of thing. Every leader leads a leader, right? So there's leadership at that level, at the governance level. Then there's leadership at the executive level, which executive means you do something, you execute, right? And depending on the size of the company, you may have the executive level, what we call a C level, right? So chief, C is chief. So chief executive officer, chief operations officer, chief information officer, chief technical officer, chief whatever, right? You have the C level, and then you may have another level of middle managers, right? And on and on. So it depends on the size of the company, right? But you need to distinguish between governance, executive, right, and the rest of the staff.
How many leadership in the family?
That's a good question. Absolutely. So we all, you know something, and it's one of the things I believe in, that every single one of us is a leader, right? Except we all don't necessarily lead at the same time, in the same way, and with the same number of, for example, she's a leader of 230,000 people. It's not the same as my son. I came with my third son, right? He's a leader of 4 others, so to speak. So there are different levels of leadership. But every one of us is a leader because leadership is about service. Can you serve? Absolutely. Leadership is about influence. Can you influence? Absolutely. Do you think about it? Whoever is cooking for our president will determine how his day goes.
Cooking to her husband.
The president can run,
Don't
right?
talk about president. Talk about the home. Cooking for her husband.
Yes,
All the family.
But I'm just saying that even for someone like the president, you think that he's the highest leader in the country, but the one who cooks for him will determine his health or even his schedule. The one who drives the president, right? And so this is an important concept because I remember once we were talking about this, how everyone is a leader, and somebody said, if everybody is a leader, then who will sell the king for who to buy? Right? But that's a wrong understanding because the doctors here, the dentists here, probably are going to go home. On their way home, they're going to stop by a kenke place. And if that person has salmonella typhi, guess what she's transmitting to you? You may think, I'm the leader, but somebody is giving you typhoid because she hasn't been a leader in her space. So we all affect each other. The traffic light may not be working when you get to the Shell. You may find a small boy who comes, and he's stopping. And he says, you come. You stop. At that time, that person is the one serving and influencing and stewarding, right? So we all are leaders. We all may not lead at the same time, in the same way, or over the same amount or number of people, but each of us has the capacity to lead. And I agree with you. I like what you're saying about home. I mean, that is where leadership is formed.
The home. Flexibility,
No, I think he needs to come and take the course. I think that will help us. On that note, let's give Doc a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yao Pebi and Dr. Sophia Quist. Madam President, please. Dr. Yao Pebi, on the 35th Annual General Conference of the Ghana Dental Association, we want to show our gratitude and appreciation for your wonderful presentation. Take this off as a token of our thanks. and appreciation. Thank you very much and congratulations. This one is classmate exchange.